Team Ninja just showed us the future of Nioh, and for the first time in franchise history, I'm a bit nervous. They are ditching the mission structure and even changing the combat that made Nioh 2 absolutely perfect. Because the soul of Nioh is its combat, right? For the past two games, we lived on that edge of aggression and precision, dancing to the rhythm of the key pose, mastering brutal satisfaction of overcoming impossible odds. That intricate, demanding, and brilliant combat system is the franchise's identity. And I'm worried that Nioh 3's leap into a massive open field is about to pretty much shatter that. This isn't just some sequel. Team Ninja is pitching this as a revolution. They're changing the very DNA of the series, moving away from that tight, curated missions that we knew and embracing a vast, explorable world. And the changes don't stop there. They've literally split the combat system in two, creating this distinct samurai and distinctive ninja style that you can swap between instantly. Now, on paper, it sounds fun as hell. It sounds ambitious, but as I continue to look more into the game, look more into it, look at all the interviews and look at all the gameplay trailers at the Game Awards and what we've been seeing so far, I honestly cannot shake this deep-seated concern that in chasing a modern trend, that Team Ninja is risking the very magic that made Nioh a legend in the action RPG genre. Today, I want to kind of break down exactly how this new direction could pretty much clash with the refined mechanics that we love and why I'm concerned that it could be a huge mistake. Before we can really dig into the risk of Nioh 3, we have to talk about what made the first two games masterpieces. The brilliance of Nioh was never just one thing. It was how perfectly the level design and the combat systems worked together. They were two halves of a single, massively crafted whole. Let's start with the world. Nioh never had a sprawling open world. It had a mission select screen that dropped you into these tightly designed, almost claustrophobic levels. That wasn't some limitation, it was a deliberate, crucial feature. Each mission has its own self-contained crucible, a gauntlet built to test your skills, and my god do they test them, because I feel like Nioh is definitely one of the harder Souls-like games out there. The narrow corridors of a castle, the deadly footing on small paths, the dark corners of yokai-infested caves, these weren't just some pretty backgrounds like, yay, whatever, we got something cool to show you in the background. No, they were active participants in that given fight. They forced you into encounters, they boxed you in, demanded a kind of spatial awareness that often gets lost in wide open spaces. Every corner could be an ambush. Every patch of the yokai realm was a calculated resource drain that even cripples your ki, forces you to even play smarter. This structure also made the games endlessly replayable. You can dive back into any mission to farm gear, test a new build, or just chase the high of a perfect run. The levels served the combat. It was a focused, intense, and consistently challenging loop from start to finish. And that combat, whoo, when I say this is the sum of the funnest combat that I've played in a Souls-like. And I feel like for a Souls-like, Nioh definitely takes the cake. I think Sekiro, it comes like right next to that. But it's a system that's almost unparalleled depth. At its heart is what I call the Nioh trifecta. We have the stances, we have the key management, and then of course we have what I call, it's like regaining your ki, but the key pulse. Switching between high, mid, or low stance wasn't just some gimmick. It was a constant split-second decision. If you go for high stance, you get that raw power, but much slower. If you went with a low stance, it's mainly meant for pure evasion, much quicker attacks, not as strong, but much faster attacks to get some combos off of. And then you have your mid stance, which is kind of your both high damage, low damage, and good for maneuverability. Mastering that flow was step one. Step 2 was overall understanding that your stamina, your ki basically, was more than just a resource. It was a rhythm. Draining it left you helpless, but a fatal mistake when any enemy can kill you in seconds. And when I mean seconds, they can do that. You gotta humble yourself when you come into this game. This is where the key post came in. That perfectly timed button press after a combo didn't just get your stamina back. It became the heartbeat of your entire combat system. It forced you to stay aggressive, but calculated, much measured, if anything. It was a mechanic that turned a passive waiting game into an active engaging skill. And then, of course, you have the yokai ram, which will flip the entire script, nerfing your key recovery, forcing you to purify it just to regain the upper hand. And then, of course, you have the massive yokai ram that the bigger yokai would summon, and the only way you can get out of that is if you by defeating those yokai. This whole ecosystem is what made Nioh feel so unique, man. This is what made this game different from every other Souls-like that exists. And that's the one thing. We understand that From Software is the kings of it. They one of the main ones who started that genre. But as there's other indie games out there, there's more AA games out there. All of these games have these different combat systems, but I feel like with the way Team Ninja went about it, they really found something special. The tight levels forced you to engage with the deep combat systems, and those systems also gave you the tools to conquer the levels. It was a perfect loop. Nothing was wasted. Every piece had a purpose. This is the blueprint that Nioh 3 is about to tear up and redesign. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's actually changing in Nioh, because y'all probably sitting here in the middle of the video like, what the hell is Chaos talking about? So let's talk about this new vision that Team Ninja has came up with. Based on what they have shown us and based on all the information I've read and everything of that nature, this is not some incremental update. They're making some of the most dramatic changes the series has ever seen, starting with the world itself. Previews have been careful to call it the open field, and yes, it is now fully confirmed by Team Ninja that it's going to be open field and not open world. Let me say that again. Open field, not open world. This is not some single seamless open world thing. This means that while some traditional linear maps will still exist, they'll be connected by massive explorable zones filled with villages, secrets, and maybe some dynamic events. If you look on their actual website, it showcases that we have this blood edge demon who could theoretically change up the entire system of the game. To get around these huge new spaces, our character can now jump. I saw like in the trailers and some of the little videos, he could jump, he could double jump, he can stealth, he can do a lot of stuff. This completely changes how we interact with the environment, turning it from a curated path into wide open playground. That philosophical shift extends right into the combat, which is now, like I said earlier, being split into two distinctive styles that you can switch from instantly, which is the samurai and the ninja. Now, we are known for Nioh 2 and Nioh 1. The samurai is kind of like your base attacking, like that's your main character, like the base fighting style. Then the ninja was, of course, like in Nioh 2, you can use ninjutsu, you can throw shurikens, you can throw bombs, you can use the kusarigama weapon. There's a lot of things you could do with the ninja. This is way beyond just swapping between different styles of weapons. The samurai style is, of course, keeper of that tradition. It keeps the familiar stance system, the core rhythm of the key management, the key pulse is back. Sometimes they call it the key charge, but same shit. It still works as that crucial timed button press to recover stamina. The big new toy for the samurai is the defensive tool called the deflect. Now, of course, this makes sense because technically in Nioh 2, you can't really deflect. You can deflect, but it's tied to a combination that you have to unlock in that skill tree. You cannot just naturally deflect. You have to unlock it over time. But the deflect, from what I've seen in the trailers, is that it's just a timed block, basically. Once you time it perfectly, boom, you can now follow up for a more aggressive attack. Then there's the ninja style. On the other hand, throws a lot of that tradition away. From what I see, it does not have any stances, and there's no key post. They swapped the key post mechanic for more of a dodging. The whole point of the ninja style is to be about speed, evasion, and ninjutsu tools that seem to work on cooldowns. Instead of that key post, the ninja recovers stamina with a spinning dodge called the Mist, which is basically repositioning you to set up for a backstab. It's much faster, maybe a bit more forgiving way to fight that does not rely on that classic Nioh rhythm. Finally, they've streamlined the counter system. Nioh 2's complex burst counter, which is using the yokai form to do the burst counter, is now, from what I'm seeing and what I've read, is now called a burst break, which is just this simple way of taking care of the enemy's red aura attacks. And from some of the stuff I've read, some of the stuff I've watched, previews have praised that this change, calling the new combat snappier and more fluid. Thrown through, it's a massive overhaul. We won't have to wait long to get our hands on it. Team Ninja has announced a playable demo dropping on January 29th next year, ahead of the full game's release, which drops on February 6th. This right here would be our first real chance to see if this revolution is genius or a disaster. And hopefully, Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja, if you're watching this video, you want to send your boy a code, that would be great. I'd love to cover it. But moving on, let's talk about why am I worried? Because this is where my worry starts to really creep in. While every change sounds cool on its own, when you put them together, you start to see this potential for things to truly fall apart, you know? My concerns really boil down to three major points. First, and most importantly, the pacing. Nioh's mission-based structure was a pressure cooker. It created this relentless forward momentum and intensity that is always impossible to maintain in a huge open area. That feeling of being trapped behind enemies, that was the essence of the game. An open field, though, by its nature, will have some downtime. There's traversal, there's empty space, and with new movement options like jumping and stealth, there's a real danger that players can, skip the hard parts. Now, granted, this could be similar to, this could be a laid-back version of Rise of Ronin. That's another thing. Like, they did an open-world game before. I actually really enjoyed Rise of Ronin. But the thing is, that's a different IP. That's a new IP. This is Nioh. You got to think your entire fan base is used to this structure. My fear is that Nioh 3 will trade that handcrafted intensity for the kind of sprawling, checklist-driven design that we have seen in so many other open-world games that have failed over time. Forspoken, Elden Ring, almost. They got lucky. I know a lot of people did not praise the open world, but they also did not praise it. They missed the old days, So the main question is, will the brutal moment-to-moment combat get lost and diluted across a map that's too big for its own good? My second big worry is that these changes might undermine the combat itself. Nioh's combat shines brightest in the tight spaces where every dodge and every ounce of ki is a life or death decision. Open up the area and, well, hey, you can change the entire challenge. Specifically, I'm looking at the new ninja style. Now, it's not new to the series, but clearly they are making a complete overhaul of how the ninja archetype work in the Nioh world. And right now, there's some bit of skepticism going on for it. A playstyle with no key post that can get stamina back just by dodging. That sounds like it was practically designed for kiting some enemies in big open fields. If you can just misdodge your way out of trouble forever, doesn't that completely trivialize the resource management that made the key post so brilliant? And speaking a little bit further on some of those previews and people who I've seen talked about it, whether it's on Twitter, through interviews, whatever, that snappier, more fluid does sound good, but I'm more worried about at a cost, right? Part of Nioh's identity was its weight, the commitment you had to make to an attack or a stance that forced you to be deliberate, making everything faster with an easy style switch and a simplified counter. Risk sanding down the sharp edges that made mastery feel so incredible. When a system gets too forgiving, it can lose that friction that truly creates that real depth. The question is whether this new system adds a higher skill ceiling or just raises the floor, making the game easier without making it more interesting. Finally, I'm worried about an identity crisis. This whole shift truly feels like a little like we're trend chasing, In a post-Elden Ring world, it seems like every action RPG feels pressure to go bigger and better. But Nioh was a hit precisely because it wasn't like all the others that is in a sea of action RPGs, quote unquote Souls likes. It had its own thing going on. By adopting the language and structure of the open world genre, even in this open field way, Nioh 3 risks becoming just another face in the crowd. Is this a necessary evolution, or is it a move that could dilute the series' unique flavor? I know I said a lot of worries, but let's actually flip that coin. Let's flip it on its head. Let's talk about the duality of this situation, right? Let's talk about the good. What is the good that could come from Team Ninja moving to this way? Because we also cannot ignore that there is a massive potential here. And let's be real, this is still Team Ninja we're talking about. They've earned our trust when it comes to all of their games that they have ever released. First, you cannot ignore the praise from the early previews. The consensus is that the combat feels absolutely incredible. People are saying it feels refined and better across the board, and that exploration and combat are elegantly woven together. You don't use words like that for a system that feels watered down. It's entirely possible that this new fluidity doesn't lower the skill ceiling, but instead can blow it completely open. The potential for insane combos, weaving the samurai stances and then the ninja tools together could be on a level that we've never seen before. The new defensive tools could also deepen your experience. A time deflect is a classic high risk, high reward mechanic that fits right into Nioh's aggressive philosophy. It encourages you to stand your ground, learn the enemy attack patterns even more intimately, which is the heart of the series. And then let's talk about the open field. Now, keep in mind, I do worry about bloat. It's not automatically a bad thing. That distinction between open field and open world is quite important. It suggests that Team Ninja might be aiming for something more like Monster Hunter's densest layered zones rather than a single sprawling map. If these bigger areas are designed with the new mechanics in mind, they could be brilliant. Imagine using the ninja's verticality to ambush powerful yokai from above, or outright get through most of your encounters unscathed to do the stealth thing, or using the samurai's defense to basically hold any form of choke points against the horde, or just go all out full on aggressive attacking. If the world is built to complement the combat, not just exist around it, then this could truly be the confident evolution the series needs. Now, in the end, Nioh 3 is standing at quite a crossroads. Team Ninja is not playing it safe. They're swinging for the fences and trying to evolve the series on a fundamental level. And that right there is the thing that I love and the thing that I wish more dev teams at least attempt to do. Don't always play it safe. If you're gonna take a risk, at least give us something crazy so we not sitting here like, damn, why the hell did they do that? Why did they change from this? Like back in early 2000s, developers were taking risks every single game, doing this, changing this. And I feel like over the years, as the gaming industry is somewhat in a better state, well, we'll say somewhat, a lot of developers have stopped putting risk into their game. And right now, I actually applaud Team Ninja for attempting to change from their original IP. But that ambition comes with a huge risk. This move to an open field and the radical combat overhaul is the biggest gamble that they have taken with the Nioh franchise. They're wagering the very foundation that made the first two games masterpieces. I'm worried because Nioh's powerful identity was forced in its limits, its claustrophobic levels, and its demanding stamina system created an intensity that was second to none. By removing many of those constraints, by opening up the world, making the combat more fluid, they risk losing the very friction that made those games feel so great. They risk losing the soul of the series. But hey, these are just my worries based on what we've seen so far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this a bold evolution that Nioh needs, or are they chasing trends and about to lose what made us all fall in love with it in the first place? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will read every single one of them. I will comment on every one of them because I would love to talk to you guys about this. But hey, we will get ourselves a playable demo on January 29th. I'll be there day one, and you can bet that I will have a follow up with my full-blown hands-on impressions. If you do want to see another review of Team Ninja's take on open world, then definitely check out the video right here. Stay safe, my outcasts. It's been your host, KICTV, signing out. Peace.